the miners are leading the physical, and that's saying a lot to me. I have not seen a chart like this in a very long time. This thing is going to take off like a rocket. We don't have to like it. We don't have to understand it. It just is what it is.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I am really excited to bring on a brand new guest. His channel is PulseScan72 on YouTube. His name is Dex. He's a great guy. And guys, I've been saying that I was going to follow the precious metals mining stocks story because I've never seen such explosive charts, really maybe ever. I mean, it reminds me of the tech bubble, but we're in the early innings here. And as I've said, I've started to weigh back into the precious metals mining stocks. I'm going to continue to follow this story. And as Dex released in a video on August 9th, 2016, gold and silver miners set to explode 1,000%. First, let me welcome Dex. Dex, how are you?
I am doing excellent. Thank you, Sean.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on short notice, man. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
All right, let me play this for you guys. This is from Dex's video that he just released the other day, and I think you need to hear it because it's exactly what I've been saying.
I'm not a gold bug. I believe in physicals. Those of you who have remember me back on Charlie McGrath's Wide Awake radio show, we talked about metals a lot. I like charts. I believe in the metals as currency, as money. We know this. And stacking is important. And I'm not just saying that because, I don't want you to think I'm a gold or a silver bug. I could care less. I'm just telling you the truth. The truth of the matter is you cannot ignore this chart. This is an extremely powerful chart. All things being equal, I'm almost afraid to tell you where I think this is going to go because you're going to think I'm a nut. Are you ready for this? Here we go. All things being equal, oh boy, all right. Just add a zero right here. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, I'm going to pause it there. Dex, I got to tell you, man, I'm following this story closely because there are two schools of thought. You know what they are. Some of the guys are anti-paper guys out there, and I get it. But I think this rally is very real. And as I said, I think we're in the early innings. And why don't you pay off that sound bite? Why did you think people would think you're nuts?
The reason I think people would think I'm nuts because I'm, to my knowledge, the first guy that came on YouTube and called the top in the gold and silver markets in the last rally. To the day, to the hour, to the minute. It was real time in the trading room. I said, guys, this is it. It's time to get out. And everyone thought I was nuts. They was like, you're sick. There's something wrong with you. And I was like, okay, guys, look, I'm not married to the markets. It's if it's going up, we're gonna buy. If it's going down, we got to sell short. And people hated me for calling the top. And I actually paid a heavy price for that. I lost a lot of people because of that. So I was almost afraid to say, what I really thought. So I had to just deal with it. And the fact is, I'm seeing the same thing in reverse this time. I'm seeing that the miners are leading the physical, and that's saying a lot to me. I have not seen a chart like this in a very long time.
And
I want to
by the
say
way,
probably since the 90s.
right, by the way, this is the GDX chart, correct?
Yes, this is the GDX chart and
GDXJ.
the SIL chart.
Okay.
Yeah, the silver miners and the gold miners. And believe it or not, the juniors are even looking a little bit more powerful than the big
Yeah,
boys.
the GDXJ. I've been following that closely too. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, and the SILJ as well for the junior silver miners. The charts are just looking extraordinary, and we have to remember the metals don't move like this for no reason. And you have to really start to take note when the miners are starting to move like this. These are the manufacturers moving like this. The miners are actually leading the physical, and it's just extraordinary what's happening. And I tell you this, I believe that what we're starting to see is the beginning ramifications of all the manipulation from the exchange level all the way up to the big banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, years of price suppression in the metals markets for whatever reason. And I'm beginning to see now the charts are telling us that there's something wrong. There's a disconnect here. Something's like almost broken, if you will. And the price is factoring this in. It's telling us no matter what is happening, this thing is going to take off like a rocket. We don't have to like it. We don't have to understand it. It just is what it is. And I'd be a fool not to tell people the truth and what's going on. And that's what I did.
Yeah, well, and that's what resonated with me. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your charts. I know you've got the experience. You've got the algorithm, Pulse Scan, an algorithm that you developed, and the charts don't lie. As I've been saying in interviews with people like Keith Neumeyer, Max Potterfield, Brian Slusarchek, CEOs of these mining companies, this is big Wall Street smart money, deep pocketed money coming in to this mining sector. It's not the little guys like me and my listeners. I mean, God bless all the listeners out there. None of us were enough to bring down the banks with the Max Kaiser, silver bullet program. None of us are deep pocketed enough to cause this rally. This is Wall Street money, and I think this chart is going far. Well, the chart is telling us it's going to go far, far higher. You're saying it could possibly go 1,000% higher.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I was probably lowballing. I just didn't want to sound like a complete nut. But since we're dealing with this, let's deal with the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room says that the price of the miners is probably going to rival Apple and Google.
Well, now let me just say something. It was back in, I think, as recently as this past December or January, that Willem Middelkoop noted, and he knew this is why he should have been buying and was buying mining stocks. What a smart guy. Back at the lows, because Apple's cash position would have been enough to buy all of the world's gold miners. That's how beaten up the sector was. And I've recently did an interview, I don't recall who it was with, who said there is a chance that as the paper markets melt down, as the stock market crashes, there may be a ballast in these mining stocks. The money that is fleeing the bad investments may well flee into these paper mining stocks, which may prevent the whole thing from coming down. What do you make of that? Do you think it's a safe investment? I mean, I've got a lot of listeners who believe only in physical. Andy Hoffman rants all day long about only physical, and here we've missed this move of 2, 3, 4, 500, 600% in some cases.
Well, all right. I'll tell you what I think. All those names you just put out there, I respect them highly. You know, even look up to them in some respects. All right. So I have no problem with them. Where we differ is that they're investors. I am not an investor. I am a trader. That's what I do. So I'm looking at short-term gains, and if they turn into long-term gains, that's even better. So I go where the price tells me. I'm not married to everything else. We all know that you should hold and own silver and gold, but physical. We already know that. It's money. So that's not even the issue. The issue is how should you participate in what's happening in that space. Now, owning the physical is great, but that's not going to help you to participate in the space. You have to go into the paper market to participate in the space.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
if the miners are going up, you got to buy the stock. It's just, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Um, as far as where do I see this heading, as far as should you just invest and stack physical when this is going on? Absolutely, absolutely not. That's not the only thing you should be doing. It's almost like if you knew a hurricane was coming. One person could argue the importance of boarding up your windows. Another person could argue the importance of making sure that you have food. Another person would say you need to have water. Well, they're all correct. You shouldn't just be doing one thing. You should be doing a multiplicity of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing in the precious metal space. The paper markets exist for liquidity. So you have to go in that market so that you can benefit from it. I mean, case in point, when the um, when the market topped out back in 2011, when the markets topped out, did you see people going and literally selling and throwing their physical out the window because the price was dropping?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Right.
you hold on to your physical and you short the paper market to participate in the downside. That way you get to hold your physical. It's just the same game as the stock market. You want to hold on to your Apple and your Google when the stock price is going down. So what do? You sell premium against it. It's just, it's a no-brainer. It's the same thing, and I don't know why people can't grasp and get that when it comes to the precious metals. It's like they forget everything they know about, stock investing and trading, and they lose their minds and just focus on the physical aspect, and you just can't do that.
Yeah, this conversation is very much about psychology, and one of the reasons I wanted to get you on right away after watching that video the other night is because I love your pragmatism. You say, "I'm not a gold bug, I'm a trader, and here's what I'm seeing." And then you ranted about these prices going up to the moon, which was very inspiring because I've recently been saying the same things because I'm very pragmatic. One of the ways I woke up to this entire fraudulent paradigm in which we live is because I was sort of a conservative guy, and so I guess not really a Bush supporter, but sort of a conservative Republican back in the day. And then I realized that Cheney and his whole crew there in the White House, including Bush Jr., were criminals, and they lied to us, and they lied to us to get us into these wars. 9/11, I found out, was a false flag, and so I woke up and I was very pragmatic and had to realize that the team I was on was corrupt. And I already knew the other team was corrupt, so that blew my whole paradigm. So I just want to be pragmatic about this. I lived through Apple going, I remember, listen to this, Dax. I remember when Apple, back in around 2000, 2001, had a market cap of $6 billion. It was trading at $12 a share. I
Wow.
just learned how to use Final Cut Pro, which Apple had just bought. And of course, all our graphic artists used beautiful Apple equipment. And I loved Apple. And I went to one of the marketing guys that I knew real well, a poker buddy of mine. I said, "You know what? I think Apple is the most undervalued tech company on the NASDAQ." He called me crazy 11 days to Sunday. Told me that there's no way Apple's ever going to take market share from PC. And he didn't talk me out of the investment, but he talked me out of my commitment. And I felt like a genius buying Apple at 12 and selling it at like 30. And I never
Wow.
dreamed that it would go to 1,000 or 2,000 and split and split and split. I never dreamed that $6 billion market cap would turn into a $700-800 billion market cap. I think that might be what we're seeing here. That's why I say we're in the early innings, and that's why I want to talk about this. This is just a conversation, but it's a conversation about what you're seeing in the charts, what I've been seeing in the price action, and what's to come.
Correct. And I think you just hit the nail on the head. I believe that I was lowballing it when I said 1,000% return. I'm just keeping it real with you. One thing about prices is that they don't have to be rational, and we don't have to always understand it for it to be real. And for whatever reason, it's price tells you something. I did a series on my channel. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was called "There Is No Collapse." And I think people missed the point when I was trying to explain is that our way of perceiving and understanding certain realities is not necessarily the way that it plays out. So, for instance, with this whole precious metal thing, we already know that the prices have been suppressed. That's been in the media. We already know that. Deutsche Bank is guilty. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they're all guilty. Even the exchange is guilty in participating. We already know that. So where do we go from here? How do you benefit and participate in a market that you know is manipulated,
Right.
right? But it doesn't stop there. The world as we know it is manipulated. There is no pure market. There is no pure government. Everything we know is corrupted to some degree. And to a certain point, it has to be. There has to be some type of management, not just to do away with fraud, but in order to have a smooth system. So the mining section, I know people, it's been a soft spot for a long time. I saw people lose a lot of money in those mining shares because they held on when they were flying high. They never let go because the old way of investing is dead. And I don't care what the market is. I don't care if it's Bitcoin or if we're talking gold or a gold miner. The old way of buy and hold does not work anymore.
Well, let me ask you this, though, as it relates to the miners, and let me be very clear to listeners. This is not a solicitation to buy or sell any security. I don't care if you guys want to get involved in the paper market. I've started to again. I've made that disclosure. I bought a few individual mining stocks and companies, which I've disclosed. I don't own the GDX or the GDXJ or any of those trackers. And maybe we should talk about that, Dex. Maybe you'd suggest people do that to minimize their risk. But I do want to make this point before we talk about that. I think that we're going to continue to see this rally move far, far higher for this reason. What we're seeing globally, economically, in the deterioration of the global economic picture is very real and it can't be stopped. And as we've heard from, again, Willem Middelkoop, fund managers, pension managers are disallowed from buying physical. So what are they going to buy? They're going to buy mining shares, trackers of mining shares, or take direct ownership of mining company shares. Your thoughts on anything I've just said?
You're absolutely correct again. You cannot avoid the paper markets. You just can't do it. You have to participate, especially if you call yourself a gold or a silver bug. If you really believe in the precious metals, then you have to participate in everything that has to do with that space. And it's not just limited to the physical. The physical you need at the end of the day, if you buy into the Mad Max scenario, then yeah, you're going to need those physicals. But what's going to help you purchase more physical? Money. You still need money in order to purchase the physicals. Whether you're using Bitcoin or you're using US dollars or Swiss francs, you need money, paper money, fiat currency to purchase the physicals. It's just how it is right now. So, with that being said, what's the best way to do it? Well, the best way to do it is to enter into the paper markets and trade them. And when the gig is up, finally, when that day comes, then you get out, you take your profits, you cash out, wait for the prices to correct again, and then you get back in again. That's trading. That's what you do.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know you're a great trader. I'm not a trader. I've tried that early on in my days, and I would never try it again. It's easy to get addicted to jumping in and out of stocks, and it doesn't always work out so well, especially when buy and hold does work with great companies that are in a bull phase of their growth period and their stocks are on the run. Now, you said that the buy and hold thesis is dead. However, let's come back to your video, Gold and Silver Miners Set to Explode 1,000%. Let's come back to this thesis that you and I both believe the mining sector shares are going far, far higher
Hmm.
in the next 6, 8, 12, 16, 18, 24 months, maybe beyond. To me, and I've just described who I am as a trader, I'm no trader. To me, it's a buy and hold. This sector is in a bull market. I'm going to buy and hold. I just bought some First Majestic. I bought some others that I've disclosed. I'm not trading them. I'm buying and holding them. Your thoughts? You going to trade in and out on this thing, or are you just going to ride the bull?
Yeah, let me explain what I mean by that. First of all, just for people who don't know who I am, I'm a weirdo. I do things totally different than most people do it. I am a firm believer. I want my money now, in my hand now. Pay me now. So what I do is I take my profits along the way. I don't day trade. I'm not in and out of the market 1,000 times a day. That is not what I do. I also believe that day trading is also dead. It died in the 90s. And now with the new algorithms afoot, there is no way to profitably day trade the way we used to be able to do it.
Right.
So you have to, I guess you could classify it as swing trading. You'll get into a trade and you'll ride it until you get stopped out. And then if you get stopped out, you sit back and wait for your next entry point. That's what I mean by taking profits along the way. So you are trading the whole trend. You're just getting a larger piece of the trend. You're making more money than you would if you just bought and held.
Right.
Trend following, statistically, scientifically, it's been proven time and time again, will outperform any buy and hold in any bull market. Let's assume that from 1929 when the market crashed, right? Let's just assume from that day forward, every day after the crash of 29 in October, let's assume every day from that point, all the market did was go straight up in a 90-degree angle. Let's just and with no corrections per se. Technically speaking, a buy and hold would win in that scenario because there was no pullback. But because the markets don't just go up perpendicular like that, there are peaks and valleys and corrections along the way. The person who trades with the trends makes more than the person who buys and holds.
Right. Well, and let's talk about this trend. Let's get back to these charts because I've been noting, and I'm not a stock chart guy, so that's why I was so excited to see your video and be able to talk to somebody who is and does speak the language. This trend that I've been seeing is blowing me away. And again, I've lived through, let's see, the tech bubble the first time around, the
Hmm.
second coming of this tech bubble. I've lived through a lot of these bulls and the explosions of these bubbles. And this trend that I'm seeing is as powerful as anything I've seen because, again, just First Majestic as an example, two and a half, $3 back in January, and
Hmm.
I watched this thing double, and I thought, and Keith came on, and I said, "Congrats, you're having a great year. You know your stock's doubled." And he laughed and he said, "Well, yeah, thank you, but it's still a far cry from our all-time high of 26." It's now at 18. I mean, in 6 months, it's gone from 6 months. It's gone from 2.5 to 18. And I kept waiting for a pullback, which never came. So this is a bull market that needs to be discussed because I'll tell you what, guys, if any of these stocks double, triple, or quadruple from here, I'm going to be really glad I had this conversation because all I'm trying to do is arm people with the information, and it's up to each individual to make their own decision on what to do.
It's the Yahoo of things, is how I would classify it. I think the beginning of these mining shares is analogous to Yahoo at $23 a share.
Mm.
I believe the year was 1998, I believe. I watched Yahoo go from $23 a share to over $300 a share in less than 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of hyperparabolic bar that is building in these miners.
Well, look, you're talking to a guy who owned Netflix at 12.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't own it now. I got out way before it hit 100. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about. These things can go far, far higher than anyone expects when the
Yes.
trend is your friend. So just tell us, what is your takeaway on this chart and this action? Heavy volume, all of it. What is? I see a lot of green bars on this chart.
Yeah, I believe that there is a lot of pent up energy within this trend. The algorithm system that I developed, there's a lot of things that you can't see with the naked eye that the algorithms will pick up. And that is what I've been seeing. I'm seeing a very powerful beginning of an upsurge where we will have these gaps that will just blow your mind. I've been seeing that lately, and it's hard to really explain, but because I've been doing this for so long and studying price action, I can just say it like this. Prices start to move erratically and in a weird kind of a way signifies that there's something in the undercurrent, something within the market depth, something within the put call ratio. There's something going on
Yeah.
underneath the surface that we can't necessarily quantify. And then you see it play out in the price action in the days and the weeks to come. Case in point, right after I put that video out, I uploaded that video, and what happened? On the TV today, the first thing plastered all over CNBC was talking about the mining shares. Now, you know CNBC ain't been saying nothing nice about gold and silver. You know it. They've been laughing at everybody who's ever talked about gold and silver. Poor Peter Schiff, they've been giving that man such a hard time since 2011. And now, look, they posted it all over CNBC today. That's all everyone wanted to talk about was what was going on in the mining shares. Yesterday, they didn't talk about it. The day before, they didn't talk about it. Last week, they didn't mention it. But today, after I put my video out, they mention it. So that should tell you something. If the mainstream media is taking notice of this, what does that tell you that's going on underneath the surface? Don't you think some of these big players are starting to operate, if they haven't already, in these markets?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if George Soros himself started buying up mining
Oh,
shares.
absolutely. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, I mean, all the smart money, through their venture capitalist organizations are all in these mining shares. That's what I'm saying. It's the Wall Street deep-pocketed billionaires. It's the smart money. It's the hedge fund money. It's going to be the pension managers' money. It's going to be all of this money that can't buy physical. and the really smart money that doesn't care to buy physical and wants the mining stock action that is going to continue buying these shares. And I've just lived through this long enough that I wanted to get you on Dex because I know that in the early stages, you have a stock that's trading at $10, and if it goes up 32 cents, you feel great. Then when the stock is at 100, it'll do $10 in a day. That's what gets really amazing about the moves in these things. I mean, the money that we're talking. Well, I think you made the point. Yahoo. We're in the early stages here, and I just wanted to get you on to talk about that because I've got no skin in the game here other than to just try to be pragmatic because I don't think this is a fake rally, as Jeff Nielsen has talked about. I don't think that there's zero room in your life for mining shares, as Andy Hoffman believes. And I like both those guys. I respect
Right.
both those guys, and there'll be guests on in the future. Again, I'm being pragmatic, which is why I wanted to disclose what I've been up to, the prices at which I've been buying shares, and now having this conversation with you. So thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Any final thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, full disclosure, I right now do not own any of the mining shares or the indexes, the GDX or the SIL or the juniors. However, I'm watching it closely, and I will definitely participate in the near future. But I do own physical, and I do own some SLV and some GLD. So I do own those, and I do own some physicals, definitely. And more silver than gold, to be precise.
Yeah, me too. Last question. The chart that we've seen here year to date, I think has stunned everybody, including those of us that have been following precious metals for a long time. Can you compare this action to any other trend that you recall? I mean, maybe we need to go back and look at tech stocks. I mean, when is the last time you saw a chart as bullish as this for an entire sector?
For
Biotechs, maybe?
Yeah, you could use that, but no. See, because it's more than just what you see on that chart. I'm talking about the pent up energy in this thing. I don't think I can compare it to anything that's been beaten up like this mining sector has. I have to go back to the 90s. I have to go back to Yahoo. Like I said, Yahoo at 23. That's the only liftoff comparison I can compare it to. The kind of liftoff that we're going to see in this sector, and it's just going to boggle the mind. And I don't know if people will be able to catch it or not. I don't even know how much time we have. I don't know when it's going to do it. It could do it tomorrow morning. I don't know. I just know that there's something nefarious going on, and we'd be fools not to participate in it. It's like I warned people with the Brexit thing. I told them what to do, and if people listened to me, then they made money. If you didn't, and you call yourself a trader, you need to find a new line of work. And
Well,
that's the same thing coming up with these miners. If you don't make money in these miners when they explode, and you call yourself a gold or silver bug or whatever, you need to find a new line of work.
yeah, and again, I've advised people you can always get the shares in your own name, take delivery, get them out of the street name, and there are ways around that if people are concerned about that. And you just said that you're not sure when it'll happen, but you feel it's going to just explode far higher. I feel like it's already been happening. This last 6 months has been absolutely extraordinary, and I just think it's something we need to keep an eye on. It's a conversation we'll continue to have. And guys, I really would appreciate it. If you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, sure, hit the like button, but by all means, subscribe to PulseScan72 on YouTube. That's Dex's channel. His show is called the Vulcan Report, and the Vulcan Report that we were referring to was number 137. I will link it below. It was called Gold and Silver Miners Set to Explode 1,000%. And Dex says he may have been lowballing it. Dex, I really, really appreciated talking with you. Thanks for coming on such short notice.
Hey, no problem. It was great. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully we can do this again.
Let's do it again. I really do appreciate that. Let's keep our eye on it, and as this thing continues to move higher, or if there's a correction, we should get on and talk about that. I really do appreciate your analysis. And again, I'm not a chart guy. You are. That's why I wanted to have you on. Oh, and Dex, one last thing. I just wanted to say, I know you were friends with Charlie McGrath. I'd never interviewed him or been interviewed by him, but I sure did respect him, and he was taken from us much too soon. Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with Charlie.
Charlie was like my brother from another mother. We really vibed really well together. We would often finish each other's sentences. It was just awesome. That whenever we got together, we talked, and we really had no holds barred. No subject was off limits. And we often found ourselves getting into areas that we didn't even plan on going. The conversation would just ebb and flow and take on a life of itself. But he was a brilliant, brilliant man. I learned a lot from Charlie. Even though he and I are the same age, he was just a wealth of knowledge. We actually learned a lot from each other, and he is greatly missed.
Yeah, he sure is. He must have been a very private, prideful guy too, because he got sick and nobody really knew about it. I mean, it was like within a week, of his last, within a few days, I think even of his last podcast, he was gone.
Yeah, he didn't even tell me. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
And his closest circle is like we didn't even know, and I was just shocked when I heard it. It was just I can't even put the words together. But it was a very hard blow. I miss him a lot.
Yeah, I miss him. I miss him too. Well, as Bill Hicks once said,
It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And let the demons run amok?
it's really, really a cruel hoax on humanity when guys like Kissinger and Rockefeller and Brzezinski and pick your poison. These guys seem to just live forever, and good men die young. It's really, really sad.
They sure do.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I really do appreciate it again. Thanks so much for your time.
No problem.
All right.
Be encouraged.
All right. Be well.
Thank you, and I appreciate all the work you do as well. I look forward to your videos as well.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. And it's a labor of love. It's a lot of fun to talk to like-minded individuals like you. And guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We really do very much appreciate it. Check us out at sgtreport.com, thephaser.com, and thelibertymill.com if you want real news, truthful news, the antidote to corporate propaganda 24/7. God bless you all. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.